7 September 1755. My dearest Anne, I hope this letter finds you and finds you well. Please kiss our children and seal my love on the foreheads. To Samuel, David, Mary, Sarah, and little baby Anne. I think of them constantly, yet I remain in His Majesty's service. The nights are starting to cool, but my heart still burns for our farm in Weir. I'd much rather be weaving for the fine linen markets, but alas, duty calls. I imagine that New Hampshire's in full bloom by now. Today I witnessed the enlistment of one Benjamin Richards. A fine young man, but I fear too young and too fine for war. He was given £15 in advance wages and another £10 for the blanket his mother wove. And in no short order, he was a soldier. Well, we're still here garrisoning on Fort Edward, on Lake George, with all the other New Hampshire Rangers, and a French force led by Baron de Sceaux, and a sizable number of Indians are marching on Fort William Henry. Now that fort is hardly ready for war, so we may have to help them out. I overheard some of the British regulars talking about some young guy from Ireland. I believe they said his name was Burke. Yes, Edmund Burke. Now this Burke fellow makes good sense. He says, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. And I guess that's why I'm fighting, Anne. Mother and father made the long voyage over from Perthshire, Scotland, and it was their dream. A new beginning, a new liberty, in a new land. And I just cannot risk losing everything that they tried so hard to gain. I will not be the good man who does nothing. I will live, and if need be, die for liberty. Your loving husband, David McKellips. Two men, David McKellips, Edmund Burke. The New Hampshire Rangers made the 15-mile hike to help their brothers at Fort William Henry in only 8 hours. They surrounded the French and Canadians who were busy scalping, looting, and mutilating the bodies of those they had killed that morning. At a signal, the New Hampshire Rangers opened fire, and instantly 1/3 of the French force was annihilated. But in the ensuing fight, David McKellips was killed in the Battle of the Bloody Morning Scout. And he became one of the first casualties of the infamous Rogers Rangers Regiment. The bodies of the slain, including David, were thrown into a nearby pond at the outskirts of Fort William Henry, Lake George, New York. Born in Dublin in 1729, Edmund Burke was the son of a successful but not wealthy lawyer. Reared as an Anglican, he was enrolled at the age of 15 at Trinity College. His was the usual education of the time. At not yet 30, Burke found himself a literary celebrity. Burke was elected to the House of Commons, and he began a career in Parliament that lasted for 29 years. He became a national and international figure by his opposition to King George III's colonial policies in America and India, as well as his passionate condemnation of the French Revolution. Wherever it occurred, the denial of justice roused Burke to greatness. Burke's speech on American taxation, his speech on conciliation, and a letter to the sheriffs of Bristol were eloquent but unsuccessful attempts to persuade George III, the Parliament, as well as the public, of the folly of England's policy towards the colonies and the danger of forcing Americans into accepting that policy. But Burke became convinced that the colonies were lost to Britain. And he was among the first to endorse our independence. The principles of true politics, Burke said, are those of morality enlarged. And Burke's basic political principles are based on the classical and Christian natural law, derived from God and perceived by good men through right reason. Burke argues that religion lies at the center of civilized society. That without religion there can be no order or even comfort in society, only chaos. Religion is the basis of civil society, Burke writes, and the only source of all good and all comfort. No one could make a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little.